And what I've uncovered is small businesses don't get 23%, they get about 3%. Right. So if the government gave small businesses full 23%, that would be an additional 20%, according to the Senate. That would create 2 million net new jobs a year. That would virtually double the number of net new jobs in America. So that's free and easy, no new taxes, no new spending, double the number of net new jobs just by complying with the Small Business Act that was signed by Eisenhower in 1953.
You're listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, where you get valuable information you just can't find anywhere else. To thrive in today's trying times, you need the Financial Survival Network, now more than ever. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and get your free newsletter and gift. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.
And welcome. You are listening to and watching the Financial Survival Network. I'm your host, Kerry Lutz. We are almost done with January. Can't believe it. Man, time flies when you're having fun. It definitely not flying for a lot of people out there on the administration hit list. Those of you who are here illegally and committed crimes or had a deportation order, what's that going to mean to small business? Is Trump truly the friend of a small business? Will Trump 2.0 positively or negatively affect small business? We've got the head of the American Small Business League with us, and a really interesting person talking to pre-call. Your name is Lloyd Chapman. Lloyd, is this the golden era for small business, or do we just see more and more big businesses consolidating and kind of going the Pac-Man route like we have for the past 2 or 3 decades?
The Pac-Man route for the last 2 or 3 decades. Yeah, small businesses are not doing well in America. I'll throw out some statistics that most people don't know. In America, 99.9% of all the companies are small businesses. 98% of all U.S. firms have less than 100 employees. And those 34 million small businesses are where most Americans work. Trump was elected by small businesses, right? And small business responsible for 50% of the gross domestic product, 50% of the private sector workforce, over 90% of the U.S. exports, and most importantly, the vast majority, up to 98% of all net new jobs come from small businesses. So President Trump wants to make America great again, and America's 99.9% small business, so he should adopt some very powerful pro-small business programs. I worked with Bobby Kennedy before he dropped out of the race and endorsed Trump, and he put out a program called Small Business Big Middle Class. And my hope is that Trump will adopt that. That program will triple the number of net new jobs in America, prompt a huge economic boom across the country, and increase tax revenue, and it's free. No new taxes, no new spending, deficit neutral. People can look it up. It's Bobby Kennedy's Small Business Big Middle Class Economic Stimulus Program. But again, I'm not sure that President Trump understands that 99.9% of all firms are small businesses. The only agency in government to help those companies is the Small Business Administration. Here's something else that people don't know. The Small Business Act, administered by the SBA, is the largest economic stimulus program ever passed by Congress for the American people, the middle class. And that's designed to direct federal spending into the middle class and create jobs. And it's run by the SBA. The SBA budget today is the smallest in history. So the staff and the budget is the smallest in history. The SBA budget and staff was bigger 40 years ago than it is today. My hope is that President Trump, trying to make America great again, is going to restore the SBA, give it a budget that's appropriate for the agency to help the 34 million small businesses where most Americans work. I think it should be around 10 to 20 billion a year. But that's the best way to make America great again, is to focus on small businesses.
All right. So small business, we agree. I've been in small business my entire life. I never had the privilege of working for anybody else. And,
me too.
You know, so, and I'm 4th generation small business person here. So I guess the question really is that, how hard is it to deal with the SBA to get money for a business?
Well, you know what? I'll tell you something. in my view, the SBA has essentially been closed.
Mm-hmm.
The budget has been cut year after year, mainly by the Pentagon, by the way. The Pentagon has more control over this than anybody else in government. Every year in the National Defense Authorization Act, the Pentagon sneaks in language to dismantle small business programs, and I'll tell you why. So the Small Business Act mandates that 23% of all federal contracts go to small businesses, right? Well, the big Pentagon contractors, they want all the government's money to go to them. So they've been struggling for 40 years to close the SBA into this program because they want that money. It's around $350 billion a year, and they want that money. And unfortunately, as you and I both know, Fortune 500 firms have infinite power in Washington. Small businesses have virtually nothing. Let me ask you a question. So I consider you to be an economics expert. In your experience, before we met, who do you think is the largest organization in America representing the 99.9% of all U.S. firms that are small businesses?
The largest organization.
Yeah, that represents.
Would that be you? Would that be you?
I think it is. I'll tell you what. I've got people can follow me on Twitter, Lloyd Chapman, and just for fun, a few months ago, I put out a series of rewards. I offered $1,000 to the first person can find anybody on television in the last 10 years objecting to the government giving small business contracts to Fortune 500 firms, but me. Nobody could find it. I offered another $1,000 for anyone, but the first person that could find anybody on national television other than me objecting to plans to cut the SBA budget and close it. Nobody could find it. So my point is, I don't think there is an organization to represent small businesses other than American Small Business League. If someone disagrees with me,
Chamber of Commerce,
all right. Let's just say the Chamber of Commerce. Show me anyone in the history of America on television from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce objecting to the government giving small business contracts to Fortune 500 firms. Just before I did your show, I started using this AI program called Perplexity.
Yeah,
and
sure.
I went on the Perplexity. Do you use that at all?
Yeah.
It's fascinating. Yeah. I said, how many years have Fortune 500 firms been getting small business contracts? The response came back decades. So I think you and I can probably agree that Fortune 500 firms aren't small businesses. Can we agree on that?
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's definitely abuse. That's the problem. When the government gives out money, like during the pandemic, how much fraud and abuse did we have, with what happened there?
Good question. I sued the government to get the names of all the firms that got PPP money. They wouldn't give it to me for months. I finally got it. And from the information I got, most of the money went to large businesses. I think the guy that got the most money was a billionaire with a chain of hotels. And the whole idea of PPP was to get people to not lay people off, right? And give them the PPP money to support them until the COVID thing was over. And this guy that got the most money laid off 98% of his staff, and he got the most money. But I remember seeing on television, I think Kanye West got PPP money, and I think the Eagles got money and football teams, right? But I remember talking.
Disgusting, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, to tell you the truth, that's typical of federal small business programs. So if you look back in the last 40 years at any small business program, most of the money goes to Fortune 500 firms. Your listeners can Google Fortune 500 firms get federal small business contracts and see all the articles. That's gone on for, I would say, 30 years.
Really?
So for 30 years, yeah. But to me, that's just insane, right? Why are we giving small business contracts to Fortune 500 firms, right? But no matter who the president is, I'll tell you something. No matter who is the president, no matter who controls Congress, the United States government is, in my opinion, anti-small business. Well, let's say that the SBA budget in 2024 is the lowest in 40 years, right? The SBA is the only agency to represent the 99.9% of U.S. firms that are small businesses, the 34 million small businesses where most Americans work. It's got the smallest budget in history. It should be a major agency. So the SBA should be a huge agency, but it's not.
Yeah. So like you say, but they do make loans and you get all these solicitations. It seems like they're loaning out money to just about anybody. What kind of collateral does the agency require?
You know what? I'll tell you, that's a good question. The SBA doesn't really loan money. They guarantee loans. They're like a co-signer. So if you want to get an SBA loan, you go to your bank and you work with the SBA at your bank, and the SBA will sort of like guarantee your loan. So the SBA doesn't really loan money out; they guarantee loans. That's my understanding, right? And I had a criminal time that got an SBA loan. Yeah, some of the biggest, most successful companies in America did got SBA loans, right? But yeah, the SBA loan program is a great program. I think it's great. But the biggest program with the SBA, I think probably 90% of the SBA's value is the contracting program, because again, that's the largest economic stimulus program in America. I'll tell you something. About 15 years ago, the Senate Small Business Committee put out a report that said for every 1% contracts of small business go up, it'll create 100,000 net new jobs. So federal law says small business is supposed to get 23%. I've been suing the government for 35 years. I've been told by my attorneys I hold a record. I've won the most legal victories against the government under the Freedom of Information Act. And what I've uncovered is small businesses don't get 23%, they get about 3%. So if the government gave small businesses full 23%, that would be an additional 20%, according to the Senate. That would create 2 million net new jobs a year. That would virtually double the number of net new jobs in America. So that's free and easy, no new taxes, no new spending, double the number of net new jobs just by complying with the Small Business Act that was signed by Eisenhower in 1953. And so far, no president has done that in 40 years. I wish Trump would do it. I wish Trump would adopt Bobby Kennedy's economic stimulus program, the small business big middle class plan, give small business the full 23%. Here's something for your female listeners. Women are half the population. They own 42% of the businesses. And every year of your life, Kerry, firms owned by men have gotten over 95% of all federal contracts. Really? Women don't know that, right? So women pay their taxes. In Kennedy's plan, he was going to give women, the goal, by the way, the federal goal for women-owned small businesses is 5%. That means men get 95. Kennedy was going to raise it up to 25. And that seems fair to me. That would still give firms owned by men 75% of all federal contracts. That would create another 2 million new jobs. So if Trump gave legitimate small businesses a full 23% of all federal contracts and gave women 25, that would triple the number of net new jobs. And that, by the way, that's the way to make America great. If you're going to make America great again, give more money to small businesses where most Americans work, right?
It makes total sense. And, but the government likes concentration, because when they want to audit a company, if it's a big company, they only have to do one audit. If it's an industry that's dominated by little companies, then they got to do like multiple audits, right?
Yeah. Well, I have to say that's not something I'm knowledgeable on. I'll say this. Your listeners can search on a GAO, 34% no taxes. So the Government Accountability Office did a report, I think, in the last few months that found 34% of the largest, most profitable companies in America pay zero federal income tax. Mm-hmm. That's who gets off contract. So in 2024, it looks like the top 1/10 of 1% got 95% of all federal spending. And those companies, a lot of them don't pay taxes, and they haven't created one net new job since 1980. So, you're an economics expert. Imagine what will happen if we continue to give over 95% of all federal contracts and spending to this tiny segment of the economy that doesn't pay taxes and don't create jobs. What do you think that's going to do over the next 10 years, Kerry?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well.
Right? Not good, huh?
Unfair advantage, right?
Yeah. Well, again, I just hope, I would love to talk to President Trump for 5 minutes in a Zoom call and say, Mr. President, if you want to make America great again, you need to understand America is 99% small businesses. 98% of all U.S. firms have less than 100 employees. And the people who voted you into office are small business owners and employees. You need to do something for them, right? Right. And again, he should reopen the SBA and pump up all federal small business programs. But I'll tell you something, my concern is that's not going to happen. When Trump was elected in 2016, when he took office, the SBA budget was the lowest in history, and he cut it again. That's kind of shocking to me, right? Yeah. But well, again, I hope that he's influenced by Kennedy and Musk and all those people to become more pro-small business. I want Trump to be the most pro-small business president in American history.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't we all want that, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be smart.
Yeah. Well, obviously, Because every big business today, for the most part, started out as a small business, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hewlett-Packard and Apple were started by two guys in a garage.
Mm-hmm.
I had a roommate when I was about 20 that was one of the first employees of Federal Express. That was a little tiny company, right? And now it's huge. But, I saw a picture the other day in the airport in San Francisco of the some type of, I think it was a World's Fair, San Francisco, like in 1915. And Lockheed Martin got started with these two brothers getting people rides in their seaplane. That's how Lockheed Martin got started. Okay. So Lockheed Martin was a small business, right? Boeing, same way. Boeing airplanes were made in a barn, in a red barn when they started, right? So almost all the big companies in America at one time were small businesses. Look at Microsoft. That was Bill Gates and like 4 or 5, kids somewhere, right? So, even Amazon. At one point in time, Amazon had, less than 10 employees, right? By the way, here's a statistic that will surprise you. The average company in America has 10 employees. The average company in America has 10 employees, right? Sure. But, America needs to become more pro-small business.
All right. So what do you do? How do we help make this a reality here?
Well, I think that people need to educate themselves about the fact that, 99.9% of all firms are small businesses. And if they agree with me, since small businesses create all the jobs and pay, most of the taxes, we need pro-small business programs. I would encourage people to contact your congressman, your legislators, and become pro-small business. Because my concern is that the defense and aerospace industry is going to put a lot of pressure on Trump to close the SBA and wind down those programs. And that would be horrific if he does. That'd be horrific. So there's only one agency to support the 99.9% of all U.S. firms that are small businesses. That's a Small Business Administration. That agency needs to be expanded tremendously, not closed or That tell you something. I saw the new chair of the Senate Small Business Committee, a senator from Iowa, say the SBA needs to be streamlined. That's crazy. It's got the smallest budget in 40 years. So to be streamlined, it needs to be exploded, right? But Ernst, I think it's Senator Ernst from Iowa is the new chair. But we need to become, more pro-small business, support small businesses and, tell your congressmen, your senators, and no matter who you voted for, you need to become pro-small business. If you want to make America great again, if we want to have a strong economy, create jobs, it's going to only be through small businesses.
All right. I love what you're saying. Totally relate to it because like I said, am a small business person, always have been my whole life. And just tell us how we find you, how we connect with you on the internet, Lloyd.
All right. Follow me on X. I've got a pretty good presence on social media. Follow me on X. I post videos all the time. And my website is asbl.com. You can see, I've been on national television for like 25 years. You can see a lot of my TV appearances on LloydChapman.com. And my new project to help women small businesses is don'tcheatwomen.com.
All right. Don'tcheatwomen.com. Links in the show notes to this interview on financialsurvivalnetwork.com. You got a question for Lloyd, myself, email kl@kerrylutz.com. While you're there on the site, on financialsurvivalnetwork.com, we just ask that you sign up for your free newsletter like 67,000 other FSN members have. And Lloyd, appreciate you coming on. We'll definitely talk to you again.
Kerry, thanks for having me on your show. I love your show, Kerry. Keep it up. You're doing a great job.
Thanks for listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, your solution to today's trying times. For the latest, go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.